I'm back. I don't know how long I'll be here, but let's see what we got going on here. It just started. I'm gonna get it to the.
You'll probably be relieved to learn, much shorter than the trial phase. And what you'll be asked to do as jurors at this point is decide what the appropriate punishment should be for Mr. Tellis. In Nevada, there are 3 possible punishments for first-degree murder. So as a group and individually, you'll be selecting amongst 3 possible penalties. The least severe penalty for first-degree murder in Nevada is a sentence of 50 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections with parole eligibility after 20 years has been served. That's the least severe sentence. The next sentence is a life sentence in the Nevada Department of Corrections, again with parole eligibility after 20 years has been served. And the most severe sentence possible in this case is a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. And that sentence means just like it sounds. That would mean Mr. Tellis would spend the rest of his days in the Nevada Department of Corrections. At this point in the proceedings, you will hear from the family of Mr. Gehrman, and you'll hear information from them about how the crime has impacted them. You'll probably hear information from the defense. Judge Levitt will give you additional instructions that kind of guide you through the penalty part of the trial. And you can also rely on everything you heard in the first part of the trial, the past 2 weeks, and all of those exhibits. And what you're asked to do as jurors at this point is kind of put everything you know together in conjunction with the additional information you hear this afternoon, and you pick amongst those 3 possible sentences. And we would just ask you to consider everything. And then once you all individually and collectively make a decision, you come back and it's announced in court. We thank you for your attention.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, thank you. My remarks really, they parallel that of Ms. Weckley. You have 3 choices. There are 3 options. As we've said previously on multiple occasions, you've been a very attentive jury. Please keep an open mind. Listen to the witnesses. You'll be hearing from 2 families, Mr. Gehrman's family and Mr. Tellis's family. At the close of the evidence, I will be addressing you. I will be asking you to consider what the goals, the purposes of sentencing is, and I'll be asking you to consider a fixed term of 50 years with a minimum parole eligibility of 20. Thank you.
Any comment for Sanders?
Thank you. Your Honor, the state calls Jay Gehrman.
So he would be eligible for parole in 20 years. How old is he?
Please step up to the witness stand.
Is he like in his 40s?
Raise your right hand, face forward.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name
Me
for the
too,
record.
Tara.
Sure.
Me
Jay
too.
Gehrman, Jay, German.
May I proceed? Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell us where yourself and your brother Jeff grew up?
Sure. Our family is from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Jeff was born in 1953. I was born in 1959. So we're 6 years apart.
Okay, so he's the older brother.
He is, yeah.
And out of how many siblings?
4.
And so who are the other 2?
My 2 sisters, Julie and Jill.
And they're present in the courtroom as
They
well.
are, yes.
What kind of things did Jeff like to do when he was a kid?
Well, Jeff was into sports. In fact, he taught me most everything I know about sports. He was a good athlete. He excelled in basketball, football, golf, tennis. He was just a natural athlete. And he was a good student.
Where did he end up going to, like college, and where did he study?
Jeff studied at University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, where he got his bachelor's degree, and then he got his master's degree in journalism, I believe, at Marquette University.
Okay. And when was it that he came to Las Vegas?
1978.
So quite a while ago.
Yep.
Do you know where he worked prior to working at the Review-Journal? Did he work at the Sun?
Oh, he did. Yeah, when he moved out here, he started working at the Las Vegas Sun.
Okay. So he was a reporter for a number of years here?
Yes, since he moved out here. Yeah, he took the job and drove his car cross country.
Do you remember him ever talking about particular stories or events that were important to him as a reporter?
Well, I'd have to think about that. But I mean, Jeff took seriously every story that he worked on. He really did. I mean, he investigated. He really enjoyed being an investigative reporter. And I mean, there are a lot of stories he worked on. I know the Binion murder trial was a big one in his life, but there are so many.
And what kind of things did you 2 do as brothers?
Well, Well, first of all, he taught me how to play golf, and he was a good teacher. He really was. And he was a natural. I wasn't, but I think I only beat him one time in my ever. So we like to play sports. We would play football and basketball right around, behind the house. There's a big field where we played football. So I learned how to play. So we did a lot of sports. He took me to my first Milwaukee Brewers game, I think when I was maybe 12 or 13 years old. Movies, we went to a lot of movies. I remember that when we were younger. And even when we got a little older, he liked going to movies.
Were you living here in Las Vegas in September of 22?
I was, yes.
Can you tell the members of the jury how you learned about his death?
Yeah, it was a tough night. My sister Julie called me, woke me up. I don't know, it might have been 11 o'clock or so at night, and broke the news to me. It was devastating. And I mean, I certainly didn't sleep at all that night, the rest of the night, but yeah, it was a tough one.
And how do you feel that, like observing your two sisters, how would you say that this event has impacted your sisters and your observations of them?
It's been really hard. I mean, it's been a hard couple of years. I mean, Jeff was our leader. He was the older brother that we all leaned on. And yeah, it was hard for them.
And how about for yourself?
Difficult.
And are there particular events that you've kind of wished you'd been there at, or?
Yeah, I mean, I just retired, and Jeff had no interest in retiring. 2 years ago, he was 69 years old, and he was just, he loved what he was doing, and we talked about it. He just wanted to keep writing and investigating. But my goal when moving out here a few years ago was to spend time with the family, and Jeff especially, because we had gotten closer as we got older, and I was hoping that we could spend time playing some golf when we retired, going to movies, going to Raider games and Golden Knights games. I miss all that with him.
Yeah. Your Honor, I believe Mr. Draskovich is stipulating to the admission of 412 and 413.
That is correct.
Sir, I'm going to put on the overhead states 412. Who are we looking at there?
Yeah, is that Jeff or something? Yeah, that's Jeff. Yeah, I can't tell what age. Oh my God, what age that is. But he was a natural athlete. He just loved baseball too. And I mean, I think when he took me to that first Brewers game, he liked. I mean, he loved it as much as I did. Yeah.
And now I'm going to put on the overhead states 413. Looks like you're a bit older in this picture.
You know when this is from? This is from New Year's Eve, 1980. So December 31st. And I'll tell you, I can't remember if it's 79 or 80, but I was in college. Jeff had been out here, 1 or 2 years. And I flew to from Milwaukee to Las Vegas. It was my first time on an airplane. And this was the first trip that I took of many that would come going forward over the years. But he said, come on out, because I hadn't seen him since he moved out to Milwaukee, since he drove his car out here back in the middle of 1978. And we spent the New Year's Eve on the Strip. It was just a great night. I'll never forget it. And it was so memorable. I mean, and that was just, look how young he was.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like the jury to know about how this crime has impacted yourself and your family?
Well, it's been very stressful over the past couple of years. I wouldn't want anybody to go through this. It was devastating to the family. It really was. We loved him and he loved us. And I mean, a big part of Jeff's life was spending time with the family. He loved the holidays for that very reason. He loved Thanksgiving. Just the whole ritual about him being with the family. So yeah, it's been, it's going to take a long time, I'm sure, for us to get past this, but we're doing our best and we miss him a lot.
Thank you. We'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any questions. Thank you for your testimony.
Years of covering the mob, and he came out unscathed, and then he comes across this low-level official and loses his life for telling the truth, for revealing the truth to the public. The media can be powerful, so much so that this man
You do solemnly swear
felt
that
like
the testimony
his
you're about to
life
give in
was
this action shall be
threatened.
the truth, the whole
Reputation.
truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
First name is Jill, Jill. Last name is Zwerg, Zwerg.
Thank you very much. Jill, if you could, just for the record, how are you related to Jeff?
And the youngest sibling, and Jeffrey's the oldest.
Because you're the baby of the family.
Pardon me?
You're the baby of the family?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I want to publish what's already been admitted by stipulation is states 415. Oh, 415 by stipulation. And I think I have exhibits 414 through 417. I think those all have been admitted by stipulation. That's correct, John.
That is 415 through 417, correct?
I think 414, 415, 416, and 417. Those four exhibits.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Publishing 415. Okay. So who can you tell us who we're looking at here in all these photographs?
Well, that's the four of us. I'm the little tiny one in the left corner with the same haircut as Jay to my right. And then Jeff is the tall one. And then my sister Julie with the no teeth.
All right. I also now want to show you another exhibit, which is admitted by stipulation is 414. All right, who are we looking at here?
Well, there we are again. I don't know if we were trying to copy that first photo or not, but I believe it's at my niece's, a celebration for my niece. And we all just got together and tried to take a picture together real quick. And it was really kind of fun, actually.
Okay. I'm publishing 416. Who are we looking at here?
That's Uncle Jeff. That's my daughter. I think she's like 3 or 4 months old, and he couldn't wait to fly in and be with her. It's just she is the firstborn of his nieces and nephews.
And what was her name? Or what
That's
is her name?
Jessica. That's her name.
And then I'd like to publish 417. What are we looking at?
That is Jeff with my son Connor, who is looks pretty much like Jeff, and just they're two peas in a pod. They're both into sports, and yeah, he just idolized him. He's the only nephew, so he just took to him immediately for that.
I know you've written something, but I do want to ask this. So you've looked at a couple of pictures, at Uncle Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
What was he like as an uncle?
Oh, he was wonderful. He just loved each and every one of them for who they were and accepted them for whatever, they would do quirky little fun things and just loved them with his heart and soul. Absolutely.
Did they grow up here in Las Vegas or somewhere else?
They all grew up here.
Okay, so Jeff was kind of here growing up and watching them do it. Okay, well, listen, I know that you've written something that you'd like to read. So if you could, why don't you share what you've written, share it with the jury, please.
Okay. So most of you know my brother Jeffrey to be a hard-nosed investigative reporter who went after corruption in our city. He wrote about wrongdoings by mobsters, gaming officials, politicians, corporations, basically anyone who was corrupt, and I don't think they could hide from him. Let me give you a little insight to the man behind the byline of Jeffrey M. Garriman. Jeff was the eldest sibling of 4, as I stated, and I'm the youngest. There's an 8-year difference between us. He always watched out for me and guided me in my schooling, my work, personal matters. I believe my other siblings, we welcomed his advice, as it usually was on target and gave us a good perspective when we needed it. He always was there for me when I needed him, like a second father for me. And with an age difference, I think that was part of it. After I graduated college, Jeff was very instrumental in helping me acquire my first job here in Las Vegas at the newspaper where he was working. We were very much alike, from our chosen careers to the music we listened to, the food we enjoyed, and going out to happy hours after work. Of course, that was the 80s. That's when it all happened, and that was just a fun thing to do. I remember we were both on the media softball league together, representing the newspaper. It was so much fun, especially when we won games and we would celebrate afterwards. I wasn't going to say this, but now I just feel like I'm lucky to hear this. He was the first one I told when I became engaged. We were at Mount Charleston. My now husband proposed to me. It was a Friday night, and we're like, well, now what do we do? He's like, let's go tell Jeff. So we couldn't wait to get back. We knew he'd be at TGI Fridays. And he was the first one I told when I got engaged. And he bought a round of champagne for the entire bar. And I'll just never forget that. It was just the most memorable, fun, exciting moment for all of us. I miss reading his stories and seeing his byline and shopping with him, talking on the phone and texting with him because he was so bad at texting. Going out for Sunday brunches, having him at our family barbecues and holiday celebrations, especially as my brother Jay said at Thanksgiving, where he really ate most of the dark meat and insisted that the TV be on some type of sporting event, probably football if I'm not mistaken. These events, these holidays, they'll never be the same without Jeffrey there, ever. He was kind, he was loving, he was loyal, and he was fun. He was a good friend, uncle, brother, and a respected colleague to all who knew him. He had a knack for remembering everyone's birthdays. He never forgot his nieces and nephews' birthdays. He just loved being their uncle. My son is very much like his Uncle Jeff. They shared a mutual passion for the sports, particularly basketball and football, and of course all the Wisconsin teams, as you know, that's where we're from. My daughter also had a special bond with her Uncle Jeff. They shared a lot in common, like both being Virgos and having journalism degrees as well. I remember asking Jeff why he chose to stay here and not be at other major newspapers who frequently recruited him. He said, Jill, this is Las Vegas. This is Sin City. This is where I need to be. Jeff was fearless of all the corrupt people he called out in his reporting of the mobsters, politicians, casino executives, and so on. Professionally, Jeff had many headline stories that made the national news. Some of you may or may not remember this, but they were breaking news, such as the Judge Harry Claiborne impeachment trial. I was here when that happened. To reporting Chicago mobster Tony the Ants Spilotro and his brother's murders, to being the first to report Liberace's death and his AIDS diagnosis. Those are just a few of the many breaking stories for Jeff, and they all came out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Jeff was a trusted, top-notch journalist and author with a top-rated Lifetime Network television movie made from his book, The Death of a Las Vegas Casino Boss, Murder in Sin City, and that was the Ted Binion murder story. His award-winning podcast, Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, is still heard by many. He belonged to a class of journalists that are in a league of their own. Not many reporters out there will ever match his caliber and investigative journalism and storytelling. These past 2 years, it felt like I've been living in a chapter of a murder novel as it unfolds. One that my brother Jeff could have written, entitled Murder in Sin City, Part 2, The Death of a Journalist. I never imagined that Jeff himself would have become a national headline news story for his murder by a cold-blooded elected city official in broad daylight. But in typical Jeff fashion, he was able to have his attacker identified and locked up behind bars after his own murder. Not only did my family lose a wonderful, loving brother and uncle, but the Las Vegas community and the world of journalism lost an amazing investigative reporter and a relentless crusader for justice. To everyone else, Jeffrey M. Gehrman was a dedicated and respected journalist. To me, my family, he was our big brother Jeff and our children's loving uncle. He is so deeply missed every day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have no further questions.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. You may step down. You may call your next
And
witness.
he just looks like he's worried about himself. Like, look what you took from these people. And he just looks like he's sitting there feeling sorry or constipated or both. He was a big brother, an uncle, an amazing journalist.
Remain standing, raise your right hand, face close.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Julie Smith, Julie, Julie, Smith, Smith.
May I proceed? Ms. Smith, you are the fourth sibling of the Gehrman group.
Yes.
I'm going to show you some pictures. I believe Mr. Draskovich will stipulate to the admission of 418 to 423.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And this one, I think I get what the event is, but I'll have you describe it. This is States 418.
Yes. This is my daughter Lexi's wedding. So it was nice. We were all together as a family. It was in Lake Tahoe, and she's been married for about, I think it's 8 years.
And now I'm going to put on the overhead States 419.
That's Jeff and my daughter Morgan. They were very close.
And this is States 420.
That's Jeff. I don't know when that picture was taken.
That's okay. 421.
Another picture of Jeff. I'm not sure where that was either. My sister dug up some old pictures.
And this is 422. Looks like the kids are a little younger to me in this one.
Oh yeah, that was a celebration for my youngest daughter, Lexi. It was just a fun celebration. Everyone had their beads on and they were happy. And we got a picture of Jeff with his 3 nieces. Jesse's in there, Morgan, Lexi.
And 423.
Oh, that's a picture of Jeffrey when the girls were young. So it's with Morgan and Lexi. They were just on the couch. And of course, there's always a cat in our house. So there's a picture of Daisy with them also.
So it seems like Jeff was a pretty devoted uncle.
Oh, my goodness, yes. He loved his nieces. He loved his nephew. He loved just to be around them whenever he could.
And your other siblings have commented that holidays were particularly important for him. Is that your recollection as well?
Very important. We always grew up in our family in Milwaukee when the four of us with my mom and dad. And my mom was always kind of the matriarch. She always made a spread for every holiday that we would celebrate. And my sister Jill and Jay, we've continued that with our families.
And have you prepared a statement that you'd like?
I did. Okay. That's okay. So as you know, Jeff was my older brother. Everyone in our family pretty much looked up to Jeff. He was our oldest sibling. So he always had a very special place in our hearts for Jeff. He just seemed to be the core of our family since my parents were gone. And we all pretty much migrated because of Jeff living here. So it was nice. We were all together finally. Most people who dealt with Jeff, the journalist, knew him to be no nonsense, a straight shooter, who always searched for the truth. He had a nose for sniffing out the corrupt, the nefarious. We knew him to be those things too, but we were very proud of his many years of service to the community and his numerous accolades as a newspaper reporter. But we also saw the side of Jeff that most people, unfortunately, didn't get to experience. Jeff loved his family. He loved spending time with his nieces and nephews. He was especially close to them. As I said previously, he looked forward to hanging out with them whenever he could, especially during family holidays. Basically, he was a family man. He loved being with his family. Sometimes at those family gatherings, it was kind of the place for Jeff to display his playful and awesome biting sense of humor. He loved sitcoms and was especially fond of 2.5 Men and Seinfeld. He had many of the classic lines committed to memory from those shows, and he would use them often. He liked to have a good time. He was always willing to put together a family dinner. He loved to have breakfast with his friends from the newsroom. He just really enjoyed being with people. He loved sports, especially football. I guess you could say it was almost like an obsession with him. Like his commitment to journalism he took that same approach to his commitment with sports. He could take notes. He knew the stats of players. He pretty much had a near photographic memory, and he could recite almost any score of any game. In another life, Jeff could have been a Las Vegas odds maker. And of course, there was the quirky side of Jeff that we teased him about. His house was meticulous, almost to being a point that it was like a good housekeeping, Better Homes and Garden setup in his house. He was into symmetry. If there was a lamp here on one side of the room, it had to be on the other side. It's kind of interesting. But you can see from these few examples how much Jeff meant to our family and how much we will all miss him. Sorry, I'm the emotional one. We're never going to be able to share laughter with him again, discuss sports with him, enjoy a barbecue with him, or admire his tenacious spirit. The tragic and brutal taking of his life has resulted in a loss that I don't think we'll recover. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Bless
Thank you very
her.
much for your testimony. You may step down.
That concludes the witnesses we'll be presenting, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Traskevich.
Same, Nico. Me too. Her hair was gorgeous, and I liked the chunky streaks. Oh,
Yeah.
if you've ever lost a loved one to murder, you never get over it. no closure. When people say, you know, it'll get better in time, what happens is you learn to manage your emotions better over time. But that same amount of hurt is always still there. It's always real, real raw.
Yeah, that's right. And if you'll remain standing, raise your right hand, face the clerk.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
May Ismael, Maryann. Last name is Ismael.
Thank you. Marianne, do you go by May?
Yes, I go by May.
You know Robert.
Just a little. Yes, I do.
Tell us how you know him and tell us about the two of you, please.
Yeah, so Robert is my husband. We met 15 years ago. We've been married almost 14 years. And it's been well, you know, every marriage has its ups and downs, but it's been a good marriage overall, I would say.
Were you with him when he went through law school?
Yes. In fact, when we first got married, we not only had a baby, but he also started law school at the same time. So very busy time.
And how was that? What type of law student was he?
He's like, his work ethic is second to none. I've never met anybody who worked so hard, who was so ambitious and just wanted to do everything to not only move himself ahead, but to also make sure that he was able to provide for his family.
And what kind of a provider was he for your family?
He was a great provider. So, you know, not just monetarily, but also he was there. We're a blended family. So I have my son, his daughter, and then we have our youngest one is together. And he was always there, especially for our kids. He attended every single school event. Even if I couldn't make it, he was always there. He was the one that helped them with homework because I have very little patience. And he has just this unlimited amount of patience and was always able to walk our kids through, you know, difficult math problems or word problems or whatever it is that they were having, that they were struggling with. He was always the one that was with them after school and helping them through you know, schoolwork. He was also the fun parent. So he would be the one that would always present ideas like going for a hike as a family, and he was always the one that wanted. So he was very much, he loved to celebrate holidays and milestones, and always had something up his sleeve. So Easter, for example, was always a big deal. He was the one that would get super excited about decorating eggs with the kids and stuffing the little plastic eggs and hiding them all over our yard. So our kids would have such an amazing time searching. And you know, he shared a lot of his Mexican traditions with our families. Well, I'm Filipino, so he would share a lot of his traditions with our kids. So like things like where they have like the empty egg that's decorated and it's full of confetti, and you crack it on the kids' heads. Like he introduced that to our children, and they just he always had something. Even our wedding anniversaries. I always forgot our wedding anniversaries, but he never did. Always had a gift, always had something planned, even if it's just a dinner with just the two of us. One year he had planned this whole weekend getaway where we went up to Zion, we went hiking. He had planned like different tours where we went rappelling, and it was just the most amazing weekend, and it was so much fun.
I'm going to show you, and Your Honor, we have a number of photographs that are in a drive that will be given to the jury, if I may publish, and they're going to be admitted by way of stipulation. This is a picture here of you and your family, and this is a little bit older photo, and I know there's been a lot of press that this case has drawn. I'm not going to ask you the names of your children for obvious reasons, but this is a picture of you and your husband and your mixed family,
Yes,
blended family.
yes, our blended family.
You each had a child from a prior marriage, and then you had one in common.
Correct. Yeah.
How did he treat all three children?
Obviously the two girls are his, but he never treated my son any differently. So when we first met and we first started dating, my son was 3. But he never, even to this day, he doesn't treat him any differently than he treats any of the other kids. So, calls him my son. It's always, he refers to the 2 girls as, his sisters.
I had to stop it for a second. When she says even to this day, he's been in jail since 2022. So he's treating him like a son from jail. Pick better role models.
Or he would talk to his sisters about, oh, that's your brother. And it was never a question about, there was no step brother, half brother. It was just their brothers and sisters, period.
And that's fairly uncommon based upon talking to friends and other experiences.
Yeah.
Fair to say. In addition to being a family man, an attorney, having gone through law school during your marriage, was he involved in any community activities?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So even throughout law school, even before law school, so he was a very active Rotarian with the local Rotary Club here in Las Vegas. He was always involved with community service, planning events. He's offered his law services to help start other nonprofit organizations. And he would be the first one to volunteer if anyone ever needed help that he knew that he can assist with. And it inspired me so much that I actually became a Rotarian with a different club, which and it was something that we just shared together.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell this jury that I perhaps have failed to ask you?
Robert is an amazing father. And like I said, even to this day, he tries to stay involved with the kids. He tries to share some type of an experience with them, even when he was at the detention center. Like him and my youngest daughter, they would talk about anime and manga, and they would send each other drawings that they had. And he really tried to continue fostering the relationship with his children, even when he couldn't be there, in person. Always made sure checked on, even would check on schoolwork, so I would love for my children to not lose that, at least not for the rest of their lives. Robert really is a great father, and he's a good husband. And I would love at some point to give my children the chance to have their father back.
Thank you, ma'am. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony here today.
Thank you.
Not the ugly crowd. Don't do that. That is not helping the jury rule in your favor. Don't do that. She has low self-esteem. This man has cheated on you. He's just been convicted of murder. She's
Tanya,
obviously very beautiful. How she ended up with him, low self-esteem. And what kind of role model can he be from prison? If he's looking at a minimum of 20 years, they're going to be adults. And he doesn't need to be in their life. Something is wrong with this man. He killed somebody because they were talking about him, not even gossiping, because they were telling the truth about his activities. about his
If you'll remain
behavior.
standing, raise your right hand, face clerk.
He
You
killed
do solemnly swear that the
Jeff.
testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Tanya Burton, Tonia. Last name is Burton, as in Nancy.
Thank you. Ma'am, obviously you know Robert Tellis.
I do.
Please tell us how you know him.
Robert Tellis was my first husband. We have a daughter together who is an amazing child.
Due to the amount of press attention this case has garnered, I'm not going to ask you your daughter's name.
Thank you.
How old is she?
She's 16 years old.
What can you tell us about Robert Tellis?
He is a great dad to her. He loves her. She misses him every day. He always helped her with so much of her homework because, I'm going to be honest, he's higher educated than me and he's just good at that stuff. He's very patient, very thorough. They would spend Sundays together.
So he's an attentive father.
Absolutely. He was part of her soccer team for a while when she was younger, a great advocate for her diabetes, always up on the new technology.
And in reference to your daughter's diabetes, what type of a father, what type of caretaker was he with your daughter with?
From the time she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, he was up on every single new technology, every single sensor, every single new idea, very big on what kind of diet she could have, what she needed, what she shouldn't have. Most of our arguments, even later, were over what she should and shouldn't have. And he was usually right.
Fair to say he's been a very hands-on dad.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And even given your separation from him, his new marriage, he's continued to co-parent with you the best he could.
Absolutely. Robert always involved even my newer stepkids and his family. They went trick-or-treating together. They celebrated all kinds of special events together.
So even though you had moved on and then ultimately had your own stepkids, he included them in his family activities.
Absolutely. I don't think there was one Christmas that went by with no gift, no anything. He was very involved in Olivia's sisters. They were her sisters.
Fair to say that Robert's intelligent.
Absolutely.
Has a hard work ethic.
He does. A lot of drive.
In your opinion, is he capable of change, learning?
Absolutely. I believe he can get anything done if he chooses to, if he has that direction.
In addition to these questions that I've asked you, is there anything that you'd like to tell this jury that I have not asked you?
My daughter is 16 years old and she misses her dad. And I know that you've made your decision, but I have hope that one day he can walk her down the aisle when she chooses to get married. When she has children, I'd like him to have the chance to be there with her, for her.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any comments?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down. Let me call your next witness.
Our final witness will be Rosa Anaya.
Pick better role models. That is not a good role model for a daughter or a son. Your daughters will grow up to be in abusive relationships.
If you'll remain standing,
Your
raise your
son
right hand, face clerk.
could be an
You do
abuser
solemnly swear the testimony you're about to
or
give in
be
this
in an
action
abusive
shall be the truth,
relationship.
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so
The
help you
daughters
God?
could be abusive too, but
You
it's
may be
more
seated.
likely the other way.
Please state and spell
This
your
is
first and last
mine.
name for the record.
Rosalinda, Anaya, Rosalinda, last name Anaya.
Ms. Anaya, you are Robert's mother.
Yes.
Tell us about him and about your other children.
I was 18 years old when Robert was born, and he was my world. And 3 years after, I had another son, and my daughter is 6 years younger. And he was a great big brother. Always took care of his siblings, was very loving. He never fought with them.
I'm going to show you a picture that you had sent to us and has been admitted by stipulation.
It's from
Who's
my
in
boys.
this picture?
My 2 sons.
This one on the left, is that Robert?
Yes.
And the one on the right?
Is my other
I
son.
want to
his
see,
brother.
did he have hair?
How old was Robert, if you can recall, when this picture was taken?
Probably about 5.
Camera crew is being shady.
Showing
They
another
should show
picture
it.
that's been admitted.
That's when Robert was 8 months old. When he
Okay.
was born, he was my world.
And you would have been 19?
Yes. In that picture, I'm 19 years old.
Were you a working mother?
Not at that point, but when Robert was 13, I got a divorce from his father. And that's when Robert became the man of the house.
Mm-mm.
Going to show you this group of pictures that you had sent us. Why don't you start with the left of the screen and describe to us what we're seeing.
That's Robert as a toddler. Right there, he was probably 2 years old. The top picture is Robert with his girls at the father-daughter dance. And then the other two, you.
Fair to say, obviously, this case has been very difficult for you and your family.
Very.
And who's
You
responsible
said
for
that you
that?
began working, you were 13. Oh, I'm sorry, when he was 13, you went back to work after the divorce. Tell me about what it was like with him as your oldest child.
Like I said, he became the man of the house. At 13, I was working full time, going to school in the evenings. So he took care of his siblings, made sure that they were fed, got them to bed because I got home so late. Also at 13, I was a single mom. I remember I couldn't afford to buy them school clothes and shoes, and we would go pick chili. And I remember he was 13 and our hands were burning because the chili was so hot, even though we were wearing gloves. I'd fill up the buckets.
I had to stop it for a second because I need a palate cleanser. If she expects us to feel sorry for her, I'm not going there with her. I just don't have that emotional capacity. As a single mom, when he was 13, did the father die? No, you said he had a divorce. So you should have gone to court and gotten some money from him, unless he just suddenly was a bum. But you just said you didn't work while you were married. So presumably he had some income. So for them to get a divorce and you have no alimony and no child support, that is you simping for the dad, because the courts all day, every day would have continued the life you have become accustomed to. So the story about you out here with the chiles burning hands, ma'am, I'm going to need you to take some accountability for yourself. I mean, yeah, I just need you to be accountable. This is where he got it from. And there's no way he could be the man of the house, because the man of the house pays all of the bills, makes sure things are in order, takes care of the woman of the house in the bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not the man of the house. He's a 13-year-old boy. His nuts probably hadn't even dropped yet. Okay, back to this. I know part of it is to get sympathy for the jury, but I just like, this is a pitiful story, in my opinion.
And he would
in
take
my
them to
2
the
cents.
truck and we would make like $2 a bucket. And it was a lot of hard work and a lot of buckets just to be able to buy them school shoes.
Where did Robert grow up?
In Texas, in El Paso, Texas.
And what was that like? What was his childhood like in El Paso, Texas?
Like I say, he was a very good boy, very loving, very supportive of his siblings and myself. On occasion, when I was threatened once physically, he was very protective and, came to my rescue to protect me, and he was only 13. Once he was in high school, he got a job at a gas station. He would also help take
I
his
gotta
brother
play
and sister to
back. Did
school
she
in the
just say
morning
the
and
dad
pick them up after
using her? Hold on, sorry guys. I just wanna. Oh, good lord.
In that picture, I'm 19 years old.
I want to.
Were you a working mother?
a lot of buckets just to be able to buy them school shoes.
Where did Robert grow up?
In Texas, in El Paso, Texas.
And what was that like? What was his childhood like in El Paso, Texas?
Like I say, he was a very good boy, very loving, very supportive of his siblings and myself. On occasion, when I was threatened once physically, he was very protective and, came to my rescue to protect me, and he was only 13. Once he was in high school, he got a job at a gas station. He would also help take his brother and sister to school in the morning, pick them up after school. Has always been very loving, a great son, great brother,
Has Robert always had a good work ethic?
very. Like I said, at 13, he started working with me in the field, then in gas station. As an adult, he was an IT tech, then heating and cooling, HVAC tech during the day, and then went to law school in the evening.
So he
Always wanted to better himself.
put himself through law school
Yes,
while being a father.
yes.
Nico.
Finally, you've obviously had an opportunity to see him interact with your grandchildren and step-grandchildren. Just tell us about that.
He's an excellent dad, always very involved. And like I said, even with me, as an adult, always helping financially, emotionally. I have a lot of health issues. He was always on top of that. Even to this day, we talk several times a week.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I say one last thing, Judge, please?
Please, do you have another, there's something else that you'd like to tell us?
Yes. I ask you to please, I accept the verdict. And if you could please give my son a chance of parole. His family is still very young, and I would like for him to someday be back with them again. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm done.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you, Judge.
That concludes.
I'm not hating on the mom, Pegasus. I'm not hating on the
This time,
mom.
ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna
She
take a short
needs
recess.
therapy
When
though,
we
and
come
there's
back,
nothing
we'll have
wrong with.
opportunity-
I mean, most of us do,
I'm
but
sorry.
there's definitely some
Oh,
things
okay.
that
And when you
she
come back, you'll have an
allowed,
opportunity to hear from
provided,
both sides.
that
in the
impacted
closing
where
argument.
he is right
We'll go with
now.
Officer Cox, and he will bring you back in when we're ready. Thank you very much. You're excused.
And she was being the victim there. She was playing the victim. But there's some accountability in that if she was not getting any money for him. There just was. And so, yes, it's a horrible thing, but she's saying it for sympathy, which is what annoys me, right? Like she's saying that they went through all those things, so therefore he should get a lesser sentence. And I just don't agree with that. I don't agree with it. She has to take accountability for
We just
where she
needed to
was
formally
in life and
settle
where he is now.
the instructions.
And that has nothing to do with the
Is the
murder
state
of Jeff
familiar with course
Garrett.
proposed instructions 1 through 13?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Any further instructions to propose?
No, thank you.
And you're familiar with the verdict form?
Exactly.
Any objection? Okay, Mr. Draskovich, are you familiar with courts proposed 1 through 13?
Yes, I am.
Any objection?
No objections.
Any further instructions to propose?
That has
I
not been
agree with
given,
Super
no.
Kelly, but I feel
Okay, and have you looked at the verdict form as well?
We have no objection to it.
Okay, all right. Probably about 15 minutes and then we'll come back in and start.
Thank you.
Mom is saying out loud how he wants others to think of him, but he only gets validation externally. He's empty inside. He knows he's not enough and he's terrified of being exposed. Yeah. He also needed therapy. So, and in our age, were you saying in the chat that he victimized both of his wives? I know the second one because I've seen the video where he got arrested. That's where he was like, "Do you know who I am? I'm a public official." But also the first one, I just want to make sure I understood you correctly. How do I stop this ticker? Oh my goodness. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm not trying to be mean to the mother, but I just really, in case there's someone out there who also needs to hear that, we have to all be accountable for our actions. and not ask for sympathy for we landed in a place that wasn't great because of something that we did, right? And I think he has definitely a lack of accountability, which is why he's here, right? He blamed the journalist for telling on his bad behavior, not thinking about he was the one doing the bad behavior. I don't know if my mom used to say, don't give them a reason, like if, to get yourself in trouble. It's like, don't give them a reason. He gave a reason for a reporter to be reporting on him. And then he killed the reporter instead of looking inside saying, what can I do to be better? How did I end up here? I'm having an affair. Now it's a public thing. I've embarrassed my wife. I need to do better. His answer was to go and murder the man who told the truth. And then his mom is telling a story about picking chiles and hot hands to help him be less accountable, as if because he went through that, he shouldn't have to be responsible for his actions. Like, I don't agree with that. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You're on a channel called Tanika's 2 cents, and those are my 2 cents. Like, take it for what it's worth. All of 2 cents. Oh my goodness. Okay, I have to go get Sugar Bear. I'm gonna leave this up if you guys want to watch it without me, and I'll be back. She said 15 minutes, so I might be back before they come back, but the court is on a short break. Trinity, and Dexter's wife with his perfect life, job, family, hobbies, and a serial deleter. Hugs. Right, his actions are his, not his mother's. I feel like the defense attorney kind of threw her up there for sympathy. I mean, and she is going to lose her son. She's still taking collect calls from him. It is a very sad situation. I'm not saying that it's not, but he has to pay the price. Like, he took an innocent man's life. He's been convicted, do you know? All right. Love you guys. I'm going to end it because I don't know if I'll make it back. We'll talk about it, the verdict later, but thanks for hopping on with me. I appreciate you. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like if you enjoyed the conversation in the chat. All right. I appreciate you all. Replay crew, leave a blue heart in the chat or in the comments. Talk to you guys later. Oh, you guys can't even see me. Hold on. I'm doing toodles and you guys can't see me toodling to you. Okay. This is better. Later. Toodles. Bye, guys.